Whispers of the Haunted Woods. The sun was dipping below the horizon, casting eerie shadows through the dense canopy of trees that enveloped the ancient woods. A group of 5 hikers embarked on a journey to explore the mysteries hidden within the heart of the forest, armed with backpacks, flashlights, and a sense of adventure. As twilight deepened, the woods seemed to come alive with unsettling sounds. Leaves rustled as if something unseen darted between the trees. The wind carried whispers that felt like distant echoes of forgotten voices. The hikers exchanged nervous glances, their excitement fading into unease. A mile into the woods, they stumbled upon an overgrown path, barely visible through the underbrush. Guided by curiosity, they followed the path deeper into the shadows. The air grew colder, and an ominous fog seeped from the ground, swirling around their ankles like ghostly fingers. The group pressed on, guided only by the flickering light of their flashlights. Strange symbols began to appear on the trees, glowing faintly in the dark. They were like nothing they had ever seen before, symbols that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. As midnight approached, the hikers reached a clearing where an ancient, gnarled tree stood alone, its branches twisted and contorted, resembling bony fingers reaching for the heavens. At its base lay an old, weathered journal. Curiosity overcoming fear, one of the hikers opened it and began to read aloud. Unbeknownst to them, the journal belonged to a previous group of hikers who had ventured into the woods years ago. Their entries told of strange occurrences, whispers that seemed to originate from the trees themselves, shadows that danced with a life of their own, and a pervasive feeling of being watched. Suddenly, a chill swept through the clearing, and the journal pages began to turn on their own. The hiker reading it dropped the journal in shock. The wind howled, and the twisted branches of the tree began to writhe and creak, casting grotesque shadows that danced across the clearing. The hikers stumbled back, their heartbeats pounding in their chests. The ground beneath them trembled, and a low, guttural growl rumbled through the air. From the darkness emerged twisted figures, half human, half monster, their eyes gleaming with an unholy light. Terror seized the hikers as they realized they were not alone. The monsters advanced slowly, their steps synchronized with the pounding of the hikers' hearts. Paralyzed with fear, the group could only watch as the creatures closed in. In a desperate attempt to escape, they turned and fled, branches snapping underfoot as they sprinted through the woods. The monsters pursued them relentlessly, their ghastly forms illuminated by the moonlight. The hikers' screams echoed through the night, blending with the sinister laughter of the creatures. Hours later, exhausted and disoriented, the hikers stumbled upon a decrepit cabin hidden deep within the woods. It seemed to exude an unnatural darkness, a darkness that seemed to drink in the feeble light of their flashlights. With no other option, they entered, hoping for a brief respite from the horrors that pursued them. Inside, the cabin was adorned with bizarre artifacts, strange masks, crude effigies, and jars containing twisted creatures. Suspended in murky liquid, the air grew heavy with an oppressive sense of malevolence, and the hikers realized they had entered a place of unspeakable power. As they explored further, they discovered an old tome, its pages filled with the same symbols that adorned the trees. Desperation drove them to read from the book, hoping to find a way to fend off the monsters that haunted them. But as the words left their lips, the cabin trembled, and the very fabric of reality seemed to waver. In a blinding flash of light, the hikers found themselves back in the clearing, the twisted trees standing before them. Their surroundings had changed. They were trapped within a loop, a nightmarish cycle that forced them to relive their terror over and over again. Days turned into weeks, and the hikers' resolve waned as they remained trapped in the nightmarish cycle. The twisted tree seemed to mock their futile attempts to escape, its branches groaning under the weight of their despair. The monsters continued their relentless pursuit, each encounter more harrowing than the last. The hikers' once bonded group was now fractured by fear and desperation. Sleep became a distant memory as nightmares bled into their waking hours. Their eyes were haunted and their bodies emaciated, bearing the toll of their torment. One by one, the hikers succumbed to the darkness. The first was Amelia, her screams echoing through the woods as the monsters dragged her away, leaving behind only her blood-soaked backpack. Then came Lucas, driven to madness by the ceaseless whispers that echoed in his mind. His laughter turned to manic shrieks as he disappeared into the shadows, leaving behind a chilling emptiness. The remaining hikers, Ethan, Sarah, and Maya, huddled in the clearing, clinging to one another as the world around them distorted and twisted. The symbols on the trees seemed to mock them, morphing into grotesque faces that leered with malevolent glee. With each cycle, they grew weaker, their once fierce determination fading to resignation. Their flashlights dimmed, and their voices grew hoarse from screaming. The monsters' laughter became a symphony of madness, a constant reminder of their impending doom. Maya, the last to hold on to hope, stumbled upon a hidden cave during one of the cycles. Her heart raced as she explored its depths, discovering an ancient altar adorned with the same symbols that plagued their existence. Desperation drove her to utter the incantations she found within the old tome, hoping for a way to break the curse. But the very ground trembled in response, and the cave seemed to close in around her. Shadows danced along the walls, their sinister forms shifting and contorting. Mia's voice faltered as a figure materialized from the darkness, a monstrous creature, its eyes twin pools of malevolence. The creature's voice slithered into her mind, promising release from the torment if she offered up the souls of her companions. Mia recoiled in horror, realizing the price she would have to pay for freedom, her heart torn between her own survival and loyalty to her friends. She fled the cave, its walls seemingly closing in on her. Returning to the clearing, Mia found Ethan and Sarah huddled together, their faces etched with defeat. She hesitated, the weight of her discovery pressing upon her, but the monster's approach spurred her into action. With a heavy heart, she made her choice, whispering the creature's demands to her companions. Ethan's eyes filled with betrayal as he realized what Maya had done. Anguish twisted Sarah's features, her voice trembling as she begged Mia to reconsider. But the monsters closed in, their forms shifting and merging with the shadows. As Maya watched in horror, Ethan and Sarah were engulfed, their cries echoing through the woods before fading into silence. Alone and broken, Mia collapsed to her knees, her tears mixing with the dirt of the forest floor. The monsters circled her, their laughter a cruel symphony that mocked her agony. The twisted tree seemed to leer down at her, its branches reaching for her like the claws of a vengeful specter. Maya's resolve shattered, and she screamed into the darkness, her voice a mixture of grief and madness. In that moment of vulnerability, the monsters surged forward, their cold, clammy hands wrapping around her. The forest seemed to close in, the world around her distorting and contorting, until all was consumed by darkness. And so, the whispers of the haunted woods claimed their final victim, ensnaring Maya's soul in an eternal dance of terror. The legends of the forest grew darker, a warning to all who dared to venture near its cursed heart, a place where hope was extinguished. Bonds were broken, and the line between reality and nightmare blurred into nothingness. The haunted woods stood as a testament to the power of fear, a grim reminder that some horrors cannot be escaped, only embraced. The cycle continued, as it always had, and always would, a perpetual loop of suffering and despair, echoing through the trees like a mournful dirge for those who had fallen victim to its malevolent grasp.